Recorded Books presents The Alton Gift by Marion Zimmer Bradley and Deborah J. Ross. Narrated by Max Bellmore. Prologue. 4 years after the death of Regis Hastur and the departure of the Terran Federation in the Heller's mountain range, the great red sun of Darkover rose above the mountain peaks, casting a sullen light through the bank of ice-crystal clouds. Although the worst of the winter storms had passed, the wind still carried an edge like a knife. A man in his middle years paused in his climb up the rock-tumbled slope and drew his threadbare cloak more tightly around his shoulders. A gust tore away his breath. Turning his back to the wind, he looked down at the sheltered dale, with its cluster of stone cottages, livestock pens, barns for feed storage, stream and fish pond. His people had farmed here from time before memory, tending their flocks, fishing the streams and gathering nuts from the forest-lined slopes, trading furs and cheese in Navarson for those things they could not make themselves. Once, the community had supported a dozen families or more. Now, Garin thought with inexpressible sadness, there are only a handful of us. A single curl of smoke rose from the cottages. The pens stood empty except for a pair of aged chervines, and the roof of the largest barn had fallen in on itself. Garin lifted his gaze to the hillside, once thick with trees bearing nuts, amber resins, and aromatic wood, now a tangle of blackened splinters. Some of the damage was old, from the fires a generation ago. Garin had been only a child, but it seemed as though the whole Heller's range had gone up in flames. The Hastur lord, Regis, had sent food and seedlings to reforest the slopes. Lean years followed, but the trees had thrived and the goat herds increased. Garin had married a girl from Rockraven, near the Alderan border, and settled happily to raising their children. Then 3 summers passed, fires came again, as they always did. Only this time no help had arrived. No firefighting chemicals, no crews sent by the Coman. Garin and the other men defended their homes as best they could. They saved the village and the better part of the livestock, but they lost the forest. The goats died one by one, then the entire herd, and those who ate the meat sickened. Garin's brother, Tomas, wept over the graves of his 2 sons and said it must be a curse sent by the gods. Garin had replied, who would seek to punish little children in this way? Things would get better. They must. He clung to that hope, even as his own youngest daughter slipped away, and the others grew thin and weak. Last winter they slaughtered half the chervines for food, but it was not enough. With the cold and damp came lung fever. The last of the grandparents died, and so did Garin's wife. Now only 10 of them remained, none either very young or very old. They had some apples and a little salted fish, nuts, and dried beans from last summer. There was nothing left to plant, for they had eaten most of their seed crop. Better to go now in the spring while we still can. The thought tore at Garin's heart, that he might never again see the dale alive with flowers and laughter, sun sparkling on the water, kid goats and children gambolling on the hillsides. He had come up here to take his farewells alone, to steel himself for the journey ahead. We may die on the road, but we will surely die if we stay. In the cottage, where they had gathered for warmth and a last meal, Garin found a flurry of activity. Lena straightened up from tying a knitted scarf on one of the smaller children, a boy about 6. She mothered them all, although only 2 of her own, a shy girl of 10 and the adolescent boy out with the livestock, were still alive. Like the other 2 surviving women, she was a widow, and Garin's kinswoman. In short order she had all the children dressed, each with a bundle and pack and walking stick. Outside, Lena's son, Raymond, had laden the 2 chervines with tents and blankets, water skins, all their remaining food, and a small bundle of furs for trading. Garin shouldered his own pack, and they set off.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?